As we step into this Advent season together, I want to begin with a question that I believe lives in most of our grieving hearts. God, I don't understand what you're doing. Maybe you've whispered something similar after that diagnosis or phone call, after everything shifted in your life and you were left holding questions with no answers. That prayer didn't begin with us. It began with Mary, the mother of Jesus. Over the next 6 episodes, we're going to walk through Advent in a very different way than you may have ever experienced before. This will not be a countdown to Christmas. It won't be a season filled with pressure to make everything perfect for your family. This is going to be an Advent journey through the eyes of a mother, the story of Mary. A young woman asked to trust God when the road in front of her made no sense, when the future felt uncertain, and when fear was very real. Over these next 6 episodes, we're going to explore themes that grieving hearts know very deeply, and that's trust, anxiety, loneliness, disappointment, surrender, and God's presence. Because Mary's story is not a polished holiday picture, it is the story of a woman stepping into the unknown with trembling hands and faith still reaching for her God. And friend, that mirrors the story of every grieving mom learning to walk forward without her child beside her. If you're grieving the death of your child and you want the steps that lead to believing with confidence that life is still worth living, then you're in the right place. Hello, I'm Teresa, a grief mentor. That's been where you are, and I teach grieving moms like you how to navigate life after child loss. If you're ready to take a step of courage and build a solid foundation to live with hope and purpose, then I'm here to teach you how. Are you ready for what God has for you? Then I'm ready to teach you. Now let's begin with the first honest whisper of Advent. God, I don't understand what you're doing. If you've ever prayed those words, friend, you're not alone. Maybe you've whispered those the day that your world shattered, the day the phone call came, the day your child was no longer walking beside you. These are moments in grief when nothing makes sense anymore. And that prayer did not begin with you and I. It began with Mary, the mother of Jesus. We're going to go through the story today of the encounter that Mary had with the angel, and you can find this story in the book of Luke. She was young. She was unknown, ordinary, living quietly in Nazareth with no idea that her life was about to change forever. Then heaven interrupted her ordinary day. The angel Gabriel appeared to her and said, "Greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you." Confused and disturbed, the NIV says greatly troubled, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Scripture doesn't skip over her emotions. I love this part. It goes into the detail to explain to us that Mary was confused. She was greatly troubled. She didn't understand. She wasn't necessarily calm. She wasn't confident. Fear showed up immediately. And before the angel explained anything, he addressed her fear first. Don't be afraid, Mary. Luke 1:30. Isn't that how God meets us too? Before answers come, His presence comes. Before understanding arrives, His comfort arrives. Then the angel tells her the impossible. You will conceive and give birth to a son. And Mary didn't respond with celebration, but she responded with honesty. Mary asked the angel, "But how can this happen?" She did not say yes, yet. She asked a question. This wasn't rebellion, it wasn't disbelief, but it was confusion, trying to breathe and understand what was happening. And tucked inside her words is the cry that we as grieving moms know all too well. Why me, God? How did this become my story? Biblical scholars and theologians have studied this moment for centuries. Why Mary? Have you ever asked that question to yourself when you're reading through the story of Jesus' birth? Why Mary? Why did he choose her? And the theologians point to this. God did not choose Mary because she was confident or prepared or fearless or extraordinary by the world's standards. Scripture and biblical teaching tells us that Mary was chosen because she lived humbly before God. She practiced quiet faithfulness. She trusted God in small, unseen ways. And her heart was willing to follow when he called. Mary was not chosen because her road was easy. You'll discover that as we move into the rest of our episodes in this series. She was chosen, friend, because she was available. This truth speaks so gently to us as grieving moms and dads, because grief does not make us fearless. Grief makes us fragile, unsure, tired, and overwhelmed by the road ahead. Yet God does not look for the fearless. He works through willing hearts, even hearts that are scared. Mary finally responded in Luke 1:38, I am your Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come true. This was not spoken necessarily with certainty. However, it was spoken with surrender while still afraid. You see, Mary didn't know how Joseph would respond. What would people think? In her day, women in her condition without a husband could risk their own very life. She didn't know where she would give birth or how motherhood would unfold for her in this unusual circumstance. She only knew that God had spoken, and she chose to trust him without seeing the road ahead. And friend, that is the faith that grief invites you and I into. Not always confident in our faith, not cheerful, but present faith, willing faith, step by step faith. When our child is no longer walking beside us, our hearts don't become braver. They become more tender. And the questions may rise, why my family? Why my child? Why this life? Mary does not answer the why. She simply models how to walk while still asking. She teaches us faith does not mean we understand what God is doing, but faith means we stay connected to him even when we do not understand. If your heart feels heavy right now, if you're carrying these questions and it feels lonely, please know this. You are not meant to walk this road of grief alone. Sometimes what helps most is having a place that feels safe to bring your fear and your unanswered prayers and your aching heart. And friend, the first place you go is to your Lord in prayer, because he understands the road of grief. And if you want to be met by someone with skin on, who understands your child's loss and the faith questions that come with it, I invite you to come spend some time with me in a grief mentor session. It's a quiet place where you're seen and you're heard, you're supported, and we'll dig deep underneath the emotions and the fears that you are walking with. If you'd like to spend some time with me, I still have availability in December. The holiday special still stands. Go to my show notes. You won't find it on my website, but if you go to my show notes, you'll find the link also in your email if you're a Grief Mentor Insider. And if you're not a Grief Mentor Insider, I invite you to become one. Become part of the community. We have monthly support meetings where you can come and share your heart and we can support one another. I invite you to join that as well. If you are considering becoming part of the Grief Roadmap, which is a 12-week-long course that I walk alongside you with, and you want to join that wait list, I would go ahead and do that. I haven't announced the date yet. I have decided the date, by the way. And those of you that are on the wait list in your December email, you are going to get an update of when that date is so that you can start preparing your heart to become part of that journey. It's a very strong community that develops with unbelievable support for one another, and I am privileged to be a part of that. If that's something that you feel like would help you in your journey, I invite you to join us. Go ahead and get your name on that wait list. You can find that link in my show notes or on my website. Friend, I want to close with this. I'm very excited about this series. When I sat down to plan it, I began to look at Mary's story through the eyes of grief, because that's what we do, right? As grieving moms and dads, everything is filtered through a different lens. And when I began to look at her story, I was so emboldened with hope. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to make this a series and present this to you to help prepare your hearts, not for the world's view of Christmas, but for God's view of Christmas through the eyes of the mother of Jesus. Advent through Mary's eyes teaches us something very beautiful, and that is we wait, but we don't wait alone. If your prayer today sounds like, God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I'm still here, then you're praying the exact same prayer that Mary, the mother of Jesus, prayed. And this is where Advent truly begins. Not with having all the answers, not with celebration, but with surrender. May your heart rest in that truth today. You don't have to understand the journey to remain faithful on it. And that's all I have for you today. So until next time, take care.